Hello and welcome to a newer show in the Pop Life universe here at TIR, Dudes in the Cheap Seats. We experimented with this a little bit last year and we had a good time, so I'll be teaming up with Parallax Views host JG Michael to give independent B-movie cinema the respect it deserves. Often when people hear the term B-movie, they discard it as a lesser film, cheaply crafted and sleazy and incoherent mess. And while that may be the case for some of these films, that isn't the case for all of them. Much like any other form of media, tastemakers decide what movies, music, or visual art is worthwhile and what is trite. This is where capitalist realism really comes into play. As much as we like to believe ourselves to be individualistic, we often fall prey to the stereotype that projects made outside of the big studios aren't going to be up to par. But it is the independent, innovative spirit that has actually created tools that would be adopted at the major studio level. There was a time where independent film was the best training ground for young actors, directors, producers, and of course, practical effects makers. This show, for me, is a love letter to all the late night, low budget action, horror, and thriller movies I watched as a kid that reminded me that there were great stories left to tell that weren't dominated by the Hollywood hit machine. Hopefully, this show will turn you onto some new movies to add to your watch list. Now, before I bring in our guest, Ann JG, I just want to remind you that TIR is listener funded. And if you enjoy shows like this and all the irreverent madness that we produce here at TIR, then become a patron for as little as $3 a month or $30 for the year. You can not only make sure we stay on air, but you can access our patron-only champagne rooms and our call-in shows. We haven't been doing too much of it. We have been doing a lot of movie nights. You also get free copies of the Crisis Papers and more. And after the main show, for patrons and YouTube subscribers, we're going to be watching some of our guests' documentary, as well as the 1971 classic, What Happened to Helen? Debbie Reynolds. Oh, hell yeah. It's on. It's on like Donkey Kong, as they say. Now, for our younger viewers that may not be aware, but back in the days of UHF and public access television, late night weekends where many of us were first introduced to horror hosts. Campy, wacky characters often portrayed as vampires or ghouls or other creatures of the night. They would introduce older horror movies. If the late 70s and 80s were the era of the slasher and the horror IP, I think Freddy, Jason Voorhees, Michael Myers, and Leatherface, horror hosts were the gateway to the old Hammer horror classics, the Universal monsters, and much more. These performers, donning corpse paint masks and wigs, used lighthearted gags and comedic bits spliced between the main feature to give viewers a fun reprieve from the tension, almost like a kooky uncle reminding you that everything's okay. Our guest today, ALICIA KRUPSKY, made a documentary that's not only an ode to the people keeping classic horror alive, but also a love letter to Kenosha, Wisconsin. I have a certain affinity for that city as well. During my touring days with Le Fin Absolute du Monde, we crossed paths with many bands from the Kenosha scene. It wasn't long before we were invited to play there in the neighboring race scene in Milwaukee. I could go on and on about all the places I played in Wisconsin, but the point is this. There's an independent spirit among these purveyors of macabre movies that I find deeply valuable. It takes me back to simpler times when I could turn on the television late at night, be introduced to these old films, and feel like I wasn't watching them alone because I had my horror host friend beside me. ALICIA captures that feeling beautifully in her documentary, I'm Your Host. Before we bring in ALICIA, let me bring in my co-host in these Dudes in the Cheap Seats endeavors, cinephile and badass, JG Michael.
How's it going?
Good. Are you ready to talk about horror hosts?
Yes, definitely.
I feel like this is right up your alley, but you and ALICIA are around the same age. So my first question is going to be, how do you young people even know about this stuff?
Are you asking me or
yeah,
bring ALICIA?
Well, that'll be for both of you. That'll be for both of you. Also, so welcome our guest today, filmmaker and maker of I'm Your Host, ALICIA KRUPSKY.
Hello. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for agreeing to come on. I have to ask, since this is to you and JJ, because I think you guys are around the same age. Since you're so young, you didn't really grow up in the era of horror hosts, I would think. What drew you to this topic of horror hosts, Alicia?
Yeah, I did not watch horror hosts growing up. I watched Mystery Science Theater though, which is
Close
like
enough.
closer, but I was like a huge sci-fi nerd. And so but I think with Mystery Science Theater, they show just bad movies. They do not show like
Mhm.
horror classics. So I was actually introduced through the producer, T. Krulos, who wrote the article about all the Kenosha horror hosts. And then I brought it up like to my parents. I was like, did you know there's like 5 of them in Kenosha, like horror hosts? And my dad's like face lit up and he was like, in Philadelphia, it was Dr. Shock. Like that's who we watched. And like, so I like bringing it up because I like knowing who's your host, like who was the person that
Very
you
regional.
watch these movies with. And so yeah, now I'm much more into it, but I had never heard of it.
JG, how did you find horror hosts? Because you're also a little
We
young.
had a horror host when I was growing up.
Is it because you're from
It's a live show, Professor MC Square, and he had a band called Deathmobile. They were a hard rock band. They started their show in, I think, 2005.
Is it because you're from a place that kind of has a horror history in Pittsburgh?
It's probably part of it. I mean, we had Chiller Theater with Chilly Billy Cardilli when he wasn't doing the announcing for pro wrestling back in the 60s and 70s. And then that sort of got reinvented with the It's Alive show. And of course, also, I mean, in the late 90s, if you were watching wrestling, what came on after wrestling? USA Up all night with Rhonda Shear. And also you had Monster Vision with Joe Bob. I was peripherally aware of that stuff, but then I knew about the It's Alive show because I always wanted to watch like a horror host show, and that was like the local one that we had.
Mm-hmm. This is the same thing for you, Alicia. Did you watch those people too?
No, I didn't at all. Like I totally I grew up in the like Adult Swim cartoons kind of era, and yeah, like I just missed, like I'm right at the point where like I'm like the youngest of millennials, oldest of Gen Z, and so I grew up with like all the cartoons. But yeah, I know there was there was a horror host in Madison. And then I think I forget his name, but he showed up to one of the events, and I was like,
really?
Yeah, and I was like, how did I never see it?
It's weird because you're also talking about an era where you guys have kind of unfettered access, because there's also kind of on demand too if you have cable, so you can watch shows when you want to watch shows, which is different. Like when you don't have that choice, it's like whatever this guy's going to throw at me or woman is going to throw at me, you know, I'm in for a hoot. And if I don't have a remote, I'm just going to sit here and watch it, because I also want to see the in between bits.
I was going to say the other reason I was familiar with horror hosts even when I was younger was so I would go to horror movie conventions like Cinema Wasteland in Cleveland, Ohio, and Cleveland has like a ton of horror hosts, A Ghastly Goal, Son of Goal, so they were always there. And then even when I go to horror conventions now, there's horror hosts at them. I was just at one in Tennessee like 6 months ago, and Dr. Gang Green was there hosting movies like for they did screenings. So he would like introduce the films. So if you go to enough horror conventions, you automatically meet these people.
Is it more for YouTube now, or are these people still on television?
I think there's some that do. Count Gore DeVol, I think, does like a YouTube or a streaming channel.
Alicia, for those that didn't grow up with UHF or public access TV, what made the horror host experience so special? And Do you think anything like that existed? I mean, some of these people still exist, obviously, but are these the last of a dying breed?
I like to think of the horror host as the proto YouTuber, like and like only because with cable access, with like public access television, you had these open slots at night that if nothing was programmed, it was just there was nothing. Like
Mm-hmm.
nothing was being shown. And so they were very affordable and you could really make whatever you want. Like there wasn't, at least with Kenosha, like the cable access that we talk to a lot who host all of these shows. It's basically like, do you want to make your own TV show? Which is like very appealing and very fun. And a lot of the sets are built in people's garages, or people have their own like Dr. Destruction, who's kind of
The
he was
OG.
the OG in Kenosha. Like he has moved his set around, but like a lot of it was done at this pumpkin farm where he like has a haunted house. And so I think it is the horror host that is presented on television. The television part is kind of dying out a little bit. Like a lot of them, all of them have YouTube channels, and that's most of what they that gets the reach out. But Kenosha, the city, really still tunes in.
Really?
And cares about the TV aspect. And I know they stream also on Roku. So like if you have the Roku channel like on your TV, you can watch it there. But from what I saw, there was still a pretty dedicated, and not just the horror hosting, but all these other shows, these goofy, like homemade shows. It's kind of a community thing too. So I hope it doesn't die out. I hope there's like a revival of some kind.
Does it feel, and this is to you and JG as well, and anyone watching, definitely chime in the chat. Does it feel to you though? Maybe this is just me, and I'm proving my age. There's a channel on YouTube that is from the Bay Area. It's called Creature Features, and they do this horror hosts, bits, sets, the whole nine. I love it. I have to watch it live or at night. If I miss it live, I can't watch it in the day. Even if I black out the sun, I have to. There's something about it.
Just feels weird.
It feels weird to kind of have this on demand. It has to be something that I come across while flipping channels late in the evening. And then it feels right when you watch some movie from 1962 that you were never going to look for. Dr. Sargonagus, whatever, it's just like some crazy shit you're not looking for. Do you feel that same way, JG?
I don't know. I'd have to think about it. I mean, I do like to watch it when it's live. If even with the Joe Bob specials on Shudder, and they just did one on AMC yesterday that I assume did very well. I watched it, but even though those shows they're presented like they're live, but they're not filmed live. People want to watch them though when they're airing. Or it's funny with Joe Bob. I mean, there's people that not live stream, but they like live tweet during the broadcast. There's sort of a communal, like, I want to watch it when it's on, not the archive of it.
Is it the same way for you, Alicia? Or can you watch it anytime you want? Or do you have to watch it at night as well?
Well, yeah, I think I have to watch it at night because it's like spooky and horror. Usually it's 9 times out of 10, it's a horror movie. And it's like we were filming at Dr. Destruction's set, and he was like, we're showing like the original Phantom of the Opera tonight. And it was like in October. And I was like, yeah, I have to like watch this when it airs. And they record everything before too. But yeah, I have to watch this when it airs, and it has to be at night, and it has to like fit the setting. I'm kind of like that with like even podcasts too. Like watching it live sometimes feels better. But yeah, I feel like it's meant to be participated in a communal way.
There's and now I that for me is the help of the internet. Right now you have this live chat where everybody's kind of tuning in. Half of the people are mystery sciencing everything because some of these movies are very wacky and low budget, and probably being played because they're wacky and low budget. And some people are really tuning into the story. Again, I found the movie we're going to watch tonight. I found that's how I found Creature Features on the internet. I was literally I have a TV that's Roku TV, and turned on YouTube and found this thing that was interesting. And much like back in the past of flipping channels, I saw it in the middle of it, which is to me even better. Like you catch a movie in the middle, like, what is this about? Now I got to watch the end, see how this fucking ends. I'm invested now. I'm 10 minutes in. I'm invested. Watching you have all these behind the scenes shots of some of these people, how much goes into their script writing when they're putting this together? Because for Dr. Destruction, it felt like maybe when he was younger, a lot of what he was doing was like off the cuff, middle fingers to people that he didn't like. Maybe in the
seriously
music scene and the radio scene.
I really wish I could have been there in that moment, like when Dr. Destruction was starting his show, because he said it was like him and all of his friends just calling people out. Very he was like, it wasn't as much about like the film, it was more about me being kind of this like punk musician that is known for being this like ghoulish musician. And but I think from what I saw, like Dr. Destruction is like, so he's been doing this for so long that like sometimes the producer just says like, here's what you say, and then he like nails it on the first try. Whereas some of the others their shows were a little bit newer, so there was a lot of scripting, there was a lot of like coming up with comedy bits, like they did like read from scripts. And so I think the newer your show is, the more you have to write, and the more you don't have that rhythm yet. But yeah, I think with someone like Dr. Destruction, he's like a great improv comedian in a way. Like even when he's interviewing or just talking, like I think it's like any kind of comedy or show business where the more you've done it, the more you have in your little bag of tricks. So depending on how long they've been doing it, that's usually where the scripting is.
JG, do you have anything you want to add?
No, I think it's interesting because your documentary is focused on local horror hosts. And I think we've seen now that, like I said, Joe Bob Briggs, who else?
He's Texas, right?
What's that?
Joe Bob Briggs is Texas area, like.
Yeah, but I mean, he's aired nationally on AMC every Halloween.
Yeah.
And then, Shudder, literally the internet broke for Shudder. Their streaming service went down and had problems when they brought Joe Bob Briggs back. So stuff like Joe Bob or Svengoolie is aired nationally through MeTV. Rhonda Shear is coming back now with on YouTube with Kings of Horror. That'll probably be a big thing for the horror community. And they're not like as local. So I think there's something like more special about the local scene. Do you want to talk about how maybe it's a bit different than like a Joe Bob or a Rhonda Shear. Do you get what I'm saying? Or
Yeah, totally. Yeah, the local aspect of a horror host is, yeah, like Svengoolie, Elvira. Those are the ones I say when people are like, "What is a horror host?" I'm like, "Have you seen Elvira before?" And they're like, "Yes," and I'm like, "Of course you have." Um, uh, they're kind of, you know, they're nationally known, but when you with the local horror hosts, not only are they like showing on TV. They're like showing up to local events. They're like in the parade. They are there's been multiple people I've like casually run into like at parties or events, and they're like, I learned they're from Kenosha, and I'm like, "Do you know Dr. Destruction?" And they're like, "That dude would drive around in a hearse when I was a kid, and it scared the shit out of me." Like, they are kind of cryptids, and like people know them, maybe not personally, but like they see them around town or they like see them at events. And that was kind of the case before things were really national. As far as like horror hosts being like national celebrities, was like my dad said that Dr. Shock would be throwing candy at the parade every year. And so there's a little bit more of a community aspect. I mean, Dr. Destruction ran for mayor in Kenosha, and like it was a huge thing, but him and the mayor are still friends. And so it's much more personal. It's much more like, this is our mascot. This is our horror host. And that's why we titled it I'm Your Host, because most people who have watched a horror host have one that was theirs, that is also a part of their community and part of like their childhood and stuff. So yeah, that's
Well, that leads
kinda
me
how
to
I
my
see
next
it.
question. Your film feels like both a tribute to horror hosts and kind of a love letter to Kenosha. What connects those two worlds for you?
So I had never really been to Kenosha or had seen much of it. Like, it was all very new to me. And I didn't want to come in as like, we pitched it as like an anti-Tiger King, where it was like that, like that's what we pitched it as, because and this was before anything had been filmed or anything. So like um I mean, I grew up as a Midwestern emo kid. And so for me it was like, oh, this is really cool. This is like a bunch of gothy people. So I was like, I need
You
this.
felt
This
at
is
home.
great. Yeah, I felt at home. I felt very like, this is really cool. But when I entered into it, I was just kind of like, I was young. I was like 26, 27. So I was like, I don't want to come in acting like a hot shot here or anything.
Mhm.
Like, I'm just totally curious. And that's how I try to be with like all my films, is like, you know, I'm not trying to spin a story.
Mhm.
I'm just letting you tell me and like show me around. And I'm just going to piece together kind of how I felt like welcomed into this. And so for me, like the Kenosha horror host connection was like, we went in being like, okay, I think there's drama here. Like, there's people who don't get along. There's like, but it was kind of like, I'm just going to let you tell it. I'm not going to pull anything out of you. And everyone was really hospitable and really sweet and like really, like Dr. Destruction invited me and T to like sell some of our stuff at his like art shows. And
Mhm.
like, so it was more of like, this is not just like, this isn't like weirdos having drama with each other like Tiger King. Like, this is like an actual community that really has known each other, and whatever like drama they have is like it's like brothers or cousins. Like they just kind of like pick on each other and they like mess with each other and they get jealous, but it's not it was just a really warm and endearing place that
It's like a real life version of the Addams Family.
yes.
It felt like that watching your movie, because you see all these guys get together. There seems to be an aspect of a lot of them being involved in the music business as well. Are a lot of these cats like musicians that found something to do in their downtime?
Yeah, I mean, Dr. Destruction, like that's his start. Like he was like he was I think he was part of what made the punk scene in Kenosha happen. So and then a few of the others, Hex and Arcane are the like the most millennial coded of like they're the most recent show, and they actually have much more of a true crime kind of like they have more of an influencery feeling to them, but like a lot of them, if they don't just like love metal and punk music, they also participate in it. But I think Dr. Destruction's the one who is still playing music and really cares about
The
metal
scene.
history and
Yeah.
stuff. Yeah, and the scene.
Yeah, the scene.
I was gonna say I'm hoping that this with this documentary, I'm your host. You could do this for like each town in the US. It's like, in Nightmare on Elm Street, what is it that Freddy Krueger says in one of them? Every town has an Elm Street.
Mhm.
Every town has a horror host. Like I said, in
Yeah.
Pittsburgh, we have the It's Alive show. And it's funny because those guys are in a band too. And it's like there's a lot of crossover. There's a lot of crossover between horror host culture and tattoo culture, metal culture, true crime stuff. It's all really interesting. And each town has, their own horror host, essentially. If you look hard enough. Yeah.
But is that a project you'd be willing to start, or is that just too much work?
I'd be interested. I think it'd be fun to, because T was like he got me into all these scenes. Like I was totally like, I would joke off and I would be like, I'm a baby goth. Like I lived in my bedroom on the computer my entire life. Like all of this is so.
You didn't buy those Hot Topic pants, those big ones with all the shit on them?
No, that was like not. I was like a MySpace emo kid, so like very nervous.
Selfies like this from way up here.
Yeah, man. Like I was in the cringiest part of like anything gothy. Like I grew up in the scene era, and
say,
so so like weird. But it would be cool to have a T. Krulos in every city, like somebody who has written about them or can introduce, but like, yeah, like when I make a movie, I like to like hide around corners and kind of be a little bit like, I don't want to disrupt the natural rhythm of anything. So it'd be really cool. I would just want like a guide or introduction.
To all these crazy scenes.
All these little scenes.
Do you think they work better in small town America or B markets? JG?
I don't know. I like a lot of different types of hosts. I think there's room for local hosts, and then there's room for the Joe Bobs and the Rhonda Shear's making her come back, like I said now. So I think it's kind of cool that there's both nationally syndicated ones like Svengoolie, and then you go to Tennessee and like you could be flipping a channel in a hotel and find Dr. Gangrene. Like to me, it's kind of cool that there's both room for the local and the nationally syndicated stuff.
Is the local guy going the way of the dodo though, as we move more into streaming?
I don't. The Creature Features is still going.
Yeah,
It's hard to say.
but I think it loses because you're now talking to a national audience. Even though you're bringing in people locally, right? Let's just take Creature Feature, for example. They still bring people in locally, but because they're based a little outside of the Bay Area, they're just a little up north. You can still get some of the cats that came on the show back when you had a studio in San Francisco or whatever. But there's something that I dig about Dr. Destruction's accent. That
Oh
is
my God.
very Kenosha, right? There's probably jokes about cheese curds on that show
Oh,
that
definitely.
no one's gonna get in Minnesota. Just one that's not gonna get it. You have to be from that hood to understand some of the in humor. And even some of his insults when he was getting mad when he was showing those old clips of him yelling at like bands and radio DJs. That's what I dig about when you find the local stuff. And I wonder, does that change when you're on YouTube? Because now you have people all over the world watching you. Do you try to lose that? I don't know.
Yeah, I'm particularly I like to be part of an actual town and city, and like I like that to rub off on me, and I like to like I did not like Wisconsin-ness growing up. Like I was like, like I'm
Shut
just
the
in a,
front door.
I'm in a flyover state. Like I like just felt like, but now I like love it. Like I feel like we are a pocket dimension of weirdness that you would totally miss. But yeah, with I think the charm of Dr. Destruction is and all of the hosts is that Wisconsin accent, these kinds of Wisconsin. No, we don't drink pop. That's Minnesota. That's Minnesota. I think some people say pop, but that is a very Minnesota thing. I'm trying to think. But yeah, the
Flowers.
Wisconsin accents, yeah, all the beer jokes.
Mhm.
Like at one point, I think Dedgar Winter makes a joke about like needing a pint of blood because he's like a vampire character. But there's always beer jokes and these Wisconsin-y things. And I think that's why like people defend it. We'd be drinking pop in Detroit, Michigan.
There's a deep comfort in mixing fear and humor. Why do you think these emotions work so well together in the horror host format?
Well, Danny Villanueva Jr. is a filmmaker that we interview, and he said something similar to your intro, where he was like, you're not actually in danger when there's a funny guy jumping like in the middle to do a skit. And I think both horror and comedy are very immediate yeses or nos, like physically, like you either laugh or you jump. And so that like immediate reaction, like it's not to be
They're visceral
interpreted.
genres.
Yes, both are
I didn't
very
mean to interrupt you.
visceral.
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. That's the perfect word, visceral.
Did you want to add something, JG?
No, I think horror and comedy go together well because they're both comedy's meant to make you laugh and horror's meant to like, make you tense up or throw up or whatever. Like they both work on like they're very physical genres. Like they meant to elicit a physical reaction. I think that's why they work well together.
Yeah, and there's the element of surprise for sure for both of them.
In an era where horror is dominated by big franchises and streaming algorithms, what's lost when we lose the weird independent spaces like these?
Dr. Destruction said it best. He the horror film used to be a very sensitive, emotional kind of like about things like death and grief and like unrequited love. Like he talks about Phantom of the Opera that way, that a lot of people grow up on slasher movies and they're very used to this egregious, like just violence and blood flying everywhere. And how horror kind of started was commentary. And like with Frankenstein, it is like a social commentary. So, you know, like I think when you lose the independent, you lose the local flavor, you lose the specificity of fear, like, and what fear is for people. You kind of create just like, you just rely on tropes after a while. And it's just, it's like a roller coaster at that point instead of a story. So that's what I worry about with independent everywhere becoming more difficult.
I also like the fact that these cats, it seems like they're curating this on their own. So these are movies that they know about, and they're showing you films that either you slept on back in the day or really old, like Hammer horror stuff that I was disconnected from in the era of the slasher. There was so much that was produced in the 80s, in the video era, in the 90s too, in the video era, that there was no reason for me to care about Christopher Lee's Dracula, you know. But through these people, you kind of get reacquainted with origin stories, if you will, and what kind of creates the lore of Dracula and some of these other universal monsters that we've just been refiguring for years. What about you, JG? What do you get from horror?
I was gonna say I almost feel like it's, I mean, I think it is curated for a lot of horror hosts, but I also think there's an element of having to work with what you got. In other words, a lot of horror hosts are working with either, like, you know, they need to get films that they can license cheap, or they're showing public domain movies. So I think there's you have to be creative with the films you show in a way. So they have to fit within certain parameters. It's not like you're going to be able to show like Friday the 13th. You know, it's Paramount owns it. Yeah.
No. That's what makes it interesting. It's back to that whole, like, can you take, I don't want to say trash, but can you take this forgotten thing or this public domain thing? Like, what's the movie that's filmed in your hood, JG?
Night of the Living Dead.
Thank you. I don't know why I was drawing a blank. But can you take Night of the Living Dead and make it interesting with your in-between skits? Because Night of the Living Dead to me is one of those movies too where people, it's like the Communist Manifesto. A lot of people have it, but have you read it? Like, have you really read it? It's pretty dense. It's like 60 pages of denseness. Did you really read it? And did you understand what you read? And that's how I feel about, you know, Night of the Living Dead. It's like, did you really watch it? Did you watch someone talk about it? That's what horror hosts do for me. It's late at night. They're going to show Night of the Living Dead. You know what? I've never seen it. I've seen all the millions of sequels, but I've never actually watched the real one. That's where I find the massive value in these cats. I don't know if you feel the same way. ALICIA.
Oh, they are historians. They each of them has their own library of movies that there's one time where Hex and Arcane, they're talking about werewolf movies, and they're like, if you ever want to get into horror, you should start with a werewolf movie because it's usually really funny. Like, it's usually really ridiculous. Like, if you are like trying to ease into it. And yeah, they just have all of these on deck, and you learn about behind the scenes, you learn about the actors, you learn about, like, you know, I mean, Bela Lugosi, like the whole lore behind Bela Lugosi. And there's things you definitely don't learn in film school. There's usually one horror class and everyone fights to get in it. and but there's they truly love this stuff, and they truly want they have the whole timeline of horror filmmaking, and then all the myths that came before that, vampire myths, werewolf myths, like it's really fun to just sit and let them ramble about all of it, 'cause you learn so much.
What's your favorite? This I'm gonna have to explain what I mean by this, but what's your favorite type of horror host? Because they always come in different varieties, right? Like there's like the mad scientist, there's the vampire woman, you know. There, for me, I always like the guys that were like a Joe Bob or a Mr. Lobo at Cinema Insomnia, where it's like, oh, he's just a kooky guy that likes horror movie. That's always been like my thing that I'm drawn to.
Like just a dude.
Right. But you can tell he's slightly kind of like eccentric, you know, like that's always been my thing. What's your favorite sort of type of host, though?
I really like the vampire lady, like Vampira. I watched a lot of footage of Vampira, and like the fashion like that she set up was like a little bit like rebellious I mean, it was like the mid 50s that
I interviewed her niece, actually, or her.
Really?
But it's interesting because Vampira was actually part of the whole beatnik, like poetry, bohemian subculture, like the proto hippie.
And that's what I love about her, is this like cigarette, like she's like, it was a very
there's something counterculture about it.
Yes. And it's different from Elvira, of course. Like Elvira is also, you know, there was a counterculture.
But she comes from the comedy world, right? That woman actually comes from the Groundlings, and that was a character she was workshopping that just hit. I can't think of her real name right now, because I think she's done with Elvira.
Peterson.
Yeah, she's done with Elvira, right? She's no longer doing anything Elvira related, right?
She's going to be here in Florida for a convention on October 31st to the 2nd. I think she doesn't dress up in the whole get up anymore. Yeah.
I think the last time she dressed up was like for RuPaul's Drag Race.
Yeah, well, that's the other thing I was going to ask you about. Is there something, not to interrupt you, Jason, but
no, go ahead.
You know, Cassandra Peterson, I think it's well known that she I think she may be like bisexual, or
she had a partner. She had a partner with a woman that she kept secret for a very long time.
What I was gonna say is, do you think there's a connection between, like, you mentioned RuPaul's Drag Race? There's also the Boulet brothers, I think is what they're called.
Yeah, they're funny.
I think there is like a thing with like camp aesthetics horror hosts and like queer subculture. Do you think there's something there, or am I off base?
Oh, totally. There's a lot of Venn diagram stuff happening. I know, I mean, all the horror hosts would call what they're doing. They'd be like, I got to get into drag real quick. Like, there's one, her name was Gorzelska. That was her character. And she was like, everything I do is inspired by drag. When I lived in New York, there were a lot of like horror drag shows, horror themed drag shows. I mean, Rocky Horror, like, is the center of that Venn diagram. But oh yeah, like camp, you know, John Waters, like there's all this, it's similar circles, I think, with the horror hosts in Kenosha. It was a lot of the metal and punk scene, but a lot of the girls who were involved were either queer, or they like had friends who were queer. Like, it was all kind of, we're all freaks, right? Like, we're all the like freaks in the lunchroom. And so I think they go together really nicely. So yeah, I think there's a total connection. Even if some parts of it are maybe don't mix those two, there's a lot that do.
JG, do you want to add something?
Yeah, I was going to say too. I mean, the other thing is that Jason's doing that documentary on pro wrestling and kayfabe. There's a bit of a kayfabe element to horror hosts because when I go to these conventions, they're in full character, and you're basically seeing them as their characters. Sometimes they let their persona slip for a little bit, but basically when they go to events, they're in character. I think that's kind of interesting. Like they. I mean, you mentioned one horror host that would drive around in a hearse. Right?
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh
they
my
keep the
God.
character. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, Dr. Destruction specifically, you all should interview Danny Villanueva because he's like an independent horror filmmaker.
It looked really good. It was the clips of his movie that you showed in your film. It was like, oh wow, this movie looks really good.
Yeah, his stuff is beautiful. It's like he really cares about cinematography and storytelling and practical effects. Like he's great. And he's Kenosha based.
Oh wow.
But he was talking about he's worked with Dr. Destruction for a while, and he was like, yeah, like most horror hosts, like they put on their makeup and they have this character and they like play it, and like then everything comes off and they're just a normal person. Dr. Destruction is the same person with or without the makeup. Like he is that guy all the time. And it's very true. But there is, I think with their beef too, there is an element of that kayfabe where like they do it on camera, like they really poke at each other on camera or they tease. And behind the scenes, from what I noticed, nobody was like actually trying to mess with each other. It was just kind of like, kind of.
It's
Yeah,
these
it was a little
roles, these people. Yeah, and then you get kind of local famous, right? You're almost like news anchors in that regard, where you kind of have to stay in character. You're so used to it. I would think. I don't know.
Yeah, some of them definitely like have an accent and like, or and then some like I like Hex and Arcane. They like one of them plays a little more ditzy and one of them plays a little bit more like street smart. And they said like these are parts of ourselves, but like obviously we're more complex. Like as people, like the characters we play are like two binaries that go back and forth. So there is that kayfabe element, just so that they can improv really quick and easy too.
Give the people what they want. In the making of this film, someone passed away due to complications from COVID. What happened?
So yeah, I don't want to like spoil the film, but we had one of the horror hosts had complications with COVID about halfway through filming, and T and I were like, I mean, we were all in these Facebook group chats, like trying to get information, and we learned that he had passed away, and it was really, it kind of sent a ripple through the community because I think it was all like, it was kind of like, it was very real. Like it was just a very real moment. And I thought it was really interesting and beautiful because all of the like kind of kayfabe drama just like off the table. Everybody got very serious and very like came together in a big way to like show support and like support his wife. And
Now, did he really get married on camera?
I don't know if it was like legal, but they did have their little ceremony on there. So but like they totally like were married in
real life.
They were such vampire lovers. It was so funny. But yeah, I really appreciated how like genuine everybody was and supportive. And at that point the film completely changed. Like it was like no longer about drama. It was no longer about who's the drama here, who's like who started this. It just very quickly changed, and it became a piece about like community. And it was a really somber but beautiful like second half of the film, I guess.
What did you kind of about that? What did you learn about community and identity in places like Kenosha through the lens of these late night TV traditions?
Well, I learned that I think the biggest one was people really like honorable kind of people. Yeah, they'll like joke around and talk shit, but when something very serious happens, like they can also be very serious, and you can treat each other well, even if you maybe are annoyed with each other. You can still really fundamentally treat each other well. This was also, we started filming right after the Kyle Rittenhouse stuff. So
that was
nobody
right in your backyard.
right there, and nobody wanted to talk to us. Like people were like, especially the mayor, like we wanted to interview the mayor because he and Dr. Destruction were friends, and we showed up, and it was like right after the whole thing, and it was just like me and T and like a GoPro, and he just comes out and he's like, I really do not like you people right now. Like,
wow,
he had been dealing with journalists and like Joe Biden and Donald Trump. Like it was like kind of crazy. And so I guess I learned that like this is a group of people with like everybody is still a very genuine good person in this chaos. And it just like, I grew up on the internet. I grew up with a lot of like posturing and like identity as a brand, right? Like, and it was really cool and it's special to me to see all these people kind of in drag, out of drag, kind of just being good people, even though they look like ghouls and vampires. Like they are some of the most genuine people I've ever met. So
That's why I made the Addams Family reference earlier. You watch
totally.
the original Addams Family show. It's like they were a kooky family, but they were actually the nice ones. Everyone else was the assholes.
And they were a
Exactly.
family in every sense of the word, right? They were always they're helping each other out, supporting one another. All of their crazy Addams Family like endeavors. Before we go tonight and watch a little bit of your film, and again, what happened to Helen? What's the matter with Helen? So what's the matter with Helen?
Yeah, it's what's the
What's
matter,
the matter with
Helen?
Helen? Sorry, I know that chick did something.
I was nodding. I was supporting you.
Yeah.
Like, whatever you say.
There you
I'm
go.
here
Support.
for you.
There you go. Thank you. What do you hope younger audiences who've never experienced horror hosting firsthand take away from your film?
I hope that younger audiences, and I showed this to a few friends who were younger than me and just getting started as far as college and real life. And I hope they learn, I hope you take away that making something, you should try to make something, even if it's like bad or cringy or like whatever. You really should try to make something real with other people. It'll readjust how you feel about people. Like you will believe in humanity more. Like you should do things like this where you get out there and meet a bunch of other weirdos and make just something. Like don't try to turn it into a side hustle or a brand. Like just try making stuff. And you never know where it's going to go. So I hope people get their, get a little bit nostalgic and try to, I don't know, let themselves be a little bit of a weirdo, of a freak.
As our friend Tony Red says, humanity through art, folks. One of the only ways to try and fight the tyranny of value. I agree, Tony. as
Wow.
Alicia snaps away. No, look, there's something about that because none of these guys, this was their full, well, maybe some of them it became a full-time gig as the shows got a little more famous, but this was like, hey, you're a camera operator. And you'd have one of those guys, you're a producer / camera operator, you're an intern, we got to fill time, do a thing, and maybe we'll give you an extra 20, 30 bucks, $100 or whatever to fill this time slot. And you're just doing it because you dig it, you have fun, and then maybe something blossoms of it, but you're just doing it because you dig it. And the sad part to me about where we are with any kind of art is that I don't know if people do it because they dig it.
Oh, I think people feel cameras and eyeballs on them all the time, even if there's nothing around. Like you feel watched, and you're like, if I do something cringy, no one's ever going to forget, and I'm going to be that guy forever. And you should watch Dr. Destruction do things. You'll
not give a fuck. Yeah.
Yeah.
I love it. I love it. That's why I love these horror hosts, because they don't care. It's really campy. It's really cheesy, as the young people would say, or cringy. Yeah. But it's fun. They're having fun.
It's so good for you.
It's kind of ironic because we're in this like cultural moment. And I see it more because I'm in Florida, which is Trumpville. But you have all these people that wave an American flag and say, "Make America Great Again." I always like what Bob Wilkins from the original Creature Features would say, which was, watch horror movies. Keep America strong by watching horror movies, which was his way of making fun of the moral there was moral panics around horror movies in like the 70s because, this is corrupting our youth. So he was saying that to be a joke. But what's funny is the TV horror host really is uniquely American. There's been horror hosts in Canada and the UK, but it's actually like a part of Americana, the TV horror host. And for as much 100%. As people say they're nostalgic for like Americana, I don't know. We don't have enough TV horror hosts in our local communities anymore. It's ironic though, isn't it? This is one of the last vestiges of like classical Americana. There's a lot of parallels between the old school carnies and TV horror hosts, the direct audience engagement, all of that. And it's sad, to your point that you were making earlier, Jason, it's sort of sad to see that fading away. It's like the fun part of Americana and that sort of our cultural history is sort of fading away. I hope that doesn't sound too heady, but
that was 100% it.
It makes me sad. Everything you're saying is a reason why I reached out to Alicia. And I want to say before we go, thank you again so much for agreeing to talk with me this evening. Taking a chance on sending a unsolicited DM is never a safe feeling as a man sending a woman a DM. Even if I'm asking, you want to be on my podcast? Oh, another guy trying to fuck me through the podcast. No, I mean this in a very literal sense.
No, I'm a fan of the show. I respect you as a creator, and it was really exciting. So my pleasure.
Oh, thank you. We try our best here at TIR to not be over the top creeps. We fail a lot, but sometimes we.
Yeah, maybe I'll be like annoying in your chat now.
Oh, we'll have another celebrity in the chat.
Yeah.
Sadly, all the famous Eagles fans like Paul Prescott and Dustin Costello don't show up in the chat because the Broncos won. Take that, Paul. I know you're watching.
Slinking away in shame.
Yeah, that's cheap. I'm going to take all my shots at those guys. But no, seriously, Alicia, this is a lot of fun. I'm excited to pretend to be a horror host because I'm not that exciting. But I'm going to be a horror host when we leave here and go watch some movies.
You're going to do great.
Well, it'll be recorded, and I'll send you the final copy. JG is and Alicia will be leaving, but I will be your host in these macabre times to watch some really good cinema. We're going to watch a little bit of Alicia's movie so you guys can see why I even bothered trying to get her on the show. John Fonzo, as you're lovingly known now on the show, JG. That is your new name, John Fonzo, by the way. John Fonzo Geronimo is what everybody calls you.
How did this start?
They wanted to guess what the JG stood for. And I had asked you, but you were doing something, so you replied to me back really quickly and kind of curt. So I was like, oh, I think JG is annoyed that I asked him. So
It's not as interesting as anyone would think. So
it's not. After you told me what it wasn't, but we're gonna go with John Fonzo Geronimo from now on, is how you will forever be known.
That's a good horror host name.
Count John
Count,
Fonzo.
yeah. Doctor.
But Alicia, thank you. JG and Alicia have very good nights where you guys are in the Midwest and the Deep South. And I will
Thank you so much.
you guys. I'll see some of you guys tomorrow because we're doing another movie night tomorrow. It's Halloween season. So I'm going to be trying to fit as many horror movies as possible into Halloween season. So tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Pacific, we'll be watching, I'm going to say this wrong, Tenebrae.
Tenebrae.
That's what I said.
Yeah, you should see if you can talk to Danny Villanueva Jr. He's
Well,
a great.
Hook it up.
I'll hook it up. Yeah, I'll put you on contact.
Let's see. Yeah, hook it up.
Yeah.
Have you seen Tenebrae before, by the way?
Talking to me or Alicia?
No, I'm talking to you, Jason.
I saw it one time, hella long ago, as I was falling asleep. Okay. Not a good movie to wake up to when you're like, what the fuck?
I was going to say, because watching that in like a group chat on Google, people are going to be thinking, oh, this is going to be one of those fun movies. And then they're going to be like, oh my God, this is horrific.
No, we've been going down. Look, if you want to join us in some of this ridiculousness and you don't have the ends to become a patron, just email me, booking@thisisrevolution podcast. I'm not a douche. I'm very poor, but I know what it's like to be poor. And so if you want to enjoy this and be part of this community, I'd rather you be in than out. So
it's so sweet.
Is it sweet or is this what you're supposed to do? It's just what you're supposed to do.
Good question. That's a good question.
But if you want to join us for some of these, you know what we did last night? We watched and it's up now for the patrons. They can watch us watching it. We watched Lobster Boy, the Gibsonton guy with the lobster hands that his family killed him. Do you remember that, JG? Do you remember? You don't know anything about it. It's in Florida. I don't know.
Yeah, Gibbstown.
Yeah, the Carney town. So he was like, he actually had this disfigurement where his hands were kind of like this. Like he was like constantly throwing up the W, but his feet were like that too. And they were hella strong. And he was like he'd get drunk and get super abusive. And he would like beat his family with his claws and stuff. And his family. So there's a true crime thing about it. And we watched it last night. It was
covered it in like one of the seasons of American Horror Story a while back.
Thank you for knowing that, John Fonzo. Yes, I was. That's what I was talking about. I was like, oh, this guy was an American. So because of that, they were asking questions about it. We watched it. We've been watching a little bit of some of the black movies that I watch on Tubi. So if you want to join us for the insanity that is a movie night watch party, become a patron. If times are really tough, I've gotten some personal messages. Times are tough. Let me know. I'll give you access. I'm not a douche. Really easy to talk to. So, on that note, let's get the fuck out of here, you guys. Thank you, JG. Thank you so much, Alicia. And we are, say it, guys. How you have to say
Out.
out. Let's try it again. Try it again. We are
Are
Out.